My name is Hamza. I'm with Meniga and I look after product strategy. At Meniga, what we do is we create digital banking solutions which are targeted on creating customer and bank value. The value that we create is around product sales, loyalty around customers, and getting most return from investments.
That's absolutely incredible. Now, to set the scene, the role of a bank or a financial institution is changing dramatically. Now, how can Meniga empower banks to empower their customers and improve that brand loyalty?
Yeah, so I think beyond brand loyalty, it really comes down to trust and intimacy between bank and customer. And community banking and face-to-face banking is dead. Like, that's nothing new. However, what has changed is the use of or the adoption of digital applications and digital channels, which we've seen rise during the case of the pandemic. However, what we've seen is actually people are no longer using those mobile applications for any value-added services. What they're doing is purely transactional. So actually 3 in 4 bank customers only do transactional banking, which is payments and transfers, in their app. So there's no relationship, there's no value-add service, it's literally very commoditized.
Now that's absolutely fascinating, because obviously internet banking was created in 1997 and nothing's changed since then. So I always like to have a couple of use cases, and I'm wondering if I could get some insight from you. What are some of these value adds that banks can start affording their customers by working with a partner like Meniga?
Yeah, so our view is very much to transform the bank or the digital bank from a transactional application to a trusted digital advisor. And what we focus on is very specifically what are those pieces of advice that are important to customers. And no two customers are the same. Everybody has things which they value as more important to them. So they could be things like saving, spending, investing, but even going beyond just the financial things. We've seen banks be in a position to be able to advise on sustainability and even go as far as health and well-being. So there are incredible number of use cases which we can drive, and as Meniga, what we do is we try and create those use cases for our customers.
That's absolutely fascinating, and I love this move to look at health, environment. That's really ESG all in one, really. So moving forward then, if we were to look at where we are, we're obviously here in London and we're here at Finovate 2022. And I'm really excited to hear, because I've heard down the grapevine you guys have just launched a new product. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. So I guess it comes down, the inspiration for the product comes down to what I mentioned earlier around community banking model being dead, essentially. But what we've decided to do is, whilst we were always providing those use cases to banks to say, here you can advise on sustainability, this is the intelligence behind it, this is the application, the features, the data, etc. We will always continue to do that. However, what we found is that there's a break in the link and the connection between the customer and the bank. So what that means is customers don't even know what features are available to them. They don't know what's important to them. So they need to be inspired or nudged towards using those things. So what we've developed is our latest product, which is called Insight Factory, and it's very much focused on bridging the gap between banks and customers by creating, managing, delivering hyper-personalized information, or as we call them, insights.
Amazing. I mean, that really ties back to what you were just talking about, in the fact that actually face-to-face banking is dead, but customers still want that tailored, that personalised approach, as if you had gone to the same banker in the high street every day for the last 10 years. Now, what are some of the challenges involved with that, and how does working with Meniga help these banks not only contribute to their ESG score, but actually, as you said, start helping to teach their customers some of the brilliant kind of use cases they can get involved with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of challenges. I think, the biggest challenge that I see personally is banks are very conservative when it comes to how often or how frequently they interact or engage with their customers, because they're worried that they're spamming them, that they're irritating them. But actually, we've conducted countless number of surveys, and the customers tell us similar things. The customers tell us they feel like numbers. So they say, we're just one number in your system of customers. And they tell us that actually we want you to give us unique advice, unique messages, unique products. They want that real kind of value add service provided to them. So I think banks have that challenge where they need to come out of the mindset of saying, let's not spam, let's not irritate, but actually let's get right and up in the face of the customers. And of course, that's not always applicable to all customers. Some people engage and want to engage more, others don't want to engage, and that's absolutely fine. So actually, if I was to pin down one of the most killer features of Insight Factory, it's actually this concept which I just mentioned, which is intelligent or adaptive engagement, where basically we dial up the number of insights for customers who engage more with them, and we dial it down for customers that don't, which means that they get only the most important and relevant information to them. And the information can come in all different shapes and sizes, right? It's not just about positioning the right products. Of course, that's important for banks to do, because then they can increase their revenues and reinvest and re-innovate in building great customer experiences. But it's also just very basic things in terms of caring for the customer, right? So if somebody is about to dip into overdraft, giving them that warning before it's about to happen just builds so much trust, intimacy. It gives the customer a real feeling that there's somebody watching over them and looking out for them. So that's incredibly important. So we've seen a lot of interest and demand from banks, actually, and what I always tell them really is there's three main things that it comes down to in terms of building a benefits business case, because as we know, banks can never get anything approved without having a viable business case, and rightfully so. So the three things are focused firstly around building a more loyal and stickier customer, and that's of course possible by what I mentioned earlier, building intimacy and trust. Once that intimacy and trust is established, the customer will of course have more of an interest to stay with you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is having a platform to provide or nudge customers towards other services or products which the bank has. And again, this is a perfect platform for creating the context for that. And then lastly, it comes down to actually getting the return on investments which banks have already spent in. So they've already spent millions of pounds of money into new features, new services, but customers don't know about them. So again, it's about giving them the right context to nudge them towards using those more effectively. So those are the three things which I advise banks on.
I'm so excited for this future of where my bank is actually my banker rather than just a set of numbers behind a screen. And I think you guys are going to be a massive part of it. Now, to wrap up then, I want to ask you, we've touched on the fact that we're here at Finovate 2022, but I'm interested to kind of see what your thoughts are on the event. What's really excited you the most?
Well, what's really excited me is physically being somewhere in person, I think, first and foremost. Beyond the great British weather we're having as well. But no, in all seriousness, I think the thing that's most exciting is that we've actually heard the word insight being mentioned outside of the scope of what we're doing. And we find that very exciting, because what that tells us is that other people are thinking about engagement. Now, other people are thinking about how do they restore those relationships, those interactions? How do we come back to, it's never going to be the old normal, but again, using the cliche phrase, the new norm, it's going to come back to that. So that's what everybody is really interested in. Everybody's talking about it, and there's a real buzz just talking to some of the bankers downstairs and outside. They all seem to want to start this journey. So yeah, we're all here ready to help.